And joining us this morning is Mamamayang Liberal Party List Representative Leila de Lima herself. Good morning, Congresswoman, and welcome back to the program.
Good morning, Pauline. Good morning to your viewers.
Okay, Congresswoman, you were one of the 8 lawmakers who opposed this resolution, dismissing the impeachment complaints against President Bongbong Marcos for being insufficient in substance. But what did you make, Congresswoman Leila, of how the Justice Committee handled the entire proceedings and how the plenary eventually ruled on these complaints?
Okay, to be fair, in the Justice Committee, especially on the part of the presiding officer, the chairperson, Congresswoman Jinky Luistro, she handled it quite fairly and competently. Now, why did I vote why did I vote in favor of declaration of the sufficiency in substance of the second complaint, the Maza et al. Complaint? Because at the committee level, I voted for its declaration as sufficient in form, both in form and substance. I voted because to me, it was a premature dismissal on the part of the House, because it's supposed to be just the determination of the sufficiency in form and substance. And yes, no question about it, that the 2 complaints, the Jesus complaint and the Maza et al. Complaint, were both sufficient in form. Now, as to substance, the Jesus complaint, I agree, it was insufficient in substance, but not the Maza et al. Complaint or the second complaint. I do believe that based on the close analysis of the entire impeachment complaint, I believe that it alleges enough or sufficient facts as to constitute grounds for impeachment. Because under the rules, Pauline, isa lang ang batayan. There's only one test. Whether or not the complaint contains recital of facts constituting the offense charge and determinative of the jurisdiction of the committee or of the House. Now, no question that the committee has jurisdiction. It has been endorsed to it, duly endorsed to it by the plenary with respect to those impeachment complaints. But then, you're not supposed to already determine whether certain allegations are true, whether they are credible, and whether those certain evidence are admissible or not. Because those matters are to be weighed, are to be determined and deliberated upon at the proper time. At the proper time, the proper stage is not yet at this level, at this stage, which is merely the determination of sufficiency in substance. Doon na yan sa evidentiary hearing. It will come later kapag pumasa na sa sufficiency stage, and then there's still even a second stage. Even before the evidentiary hearing, meron pang isang stage, and that is to determine whether there are sufficient grounds for impeachment. And that is done if the pleadings are there already, if the respondent filed already his or her answer, and then the complainant filed reply if they so desire, and then also if the respondent would file a rejoinder to the reply, to which they can attach supporting evidence, affidavits, etc. Yung mga wala pa sa complaint, pwedeng doon humabol, doon sa stage na yon. And then magdedetermine whether there are sufficient grounds for impeachment. If the decision is, if the finding is there are sufficient grounds for impeachment, then trial or evidentiary hearing follows. So premature, clearly to me, is premature. It's not in consonance with the rules. Because some of the questioning there, or some of the manifestation by some of the committee members already delved on the strength of the allegations or of the supporting evidence. They're already asking, are there enough evidentiary support? Is this particular evidence admissible? Katulad nung pag-refer doon sa sa complaint, sa second complaint, they were alluding to the supposed confessions of the former Representative Zaldico, the chair of the Appropriations Committee. Hindi ho ba may video dyan? Now, of course, hindi pa ito authenticated, hindi pa ito under oath, but precisely, an impeachment proceedings is not strictly legal. It's constitutional and as well as political. Hindi walang room. There's no room for strict application of technical rules of procedure. The best thing to do is for the committee to subpoena, to summon Zaldico, and then let him affirm it or deny it under oath, and be subjected to proper cross-examination to test his credibility and the credibility of what he is narrating. That's the proper stage for evidentiary, but not at this early stage. So clearly, mali po, with due respect to the majority members, because, 284 members voted
Yeah.
to junk the complaints. Only
Well,
8 dissented and 4 abstained. Yes.
Well, Kong Lala, with all that said, how are those takeaways shaping your expectations now as the House prepares to take up the impeachment complaints against Vice President Sara Duterte? You were quoted as saying that you believe the complaints this time around are even stronger and better than those that were filed last year. What makes you more confident this time, Congresswoman?
Yes, because at least the two complaints, the second and the third complaint, which I endorse, I believe there are sufficient and strong allegations, including factual narration, detalyado po, especially with respect to, of course, tungkol sa admission of the Vice President in a public broadcast, a very public broadcast, of contracting an assassin and plotting to murder or assassinate the President, the First Lady, and the former Speaker. The best evidence is the video. All we have to do is authenticate the video. And in fact, it's a public knowledge already. Karamihan sa atin nakita yon. Even it was even picked up by foreign media. So almost everybody knows about those utterance of threatening words. So that is from her own mouth. And then, of course, with respect to the allegation of misuse and malversation and anomalous disbursements of confidential funds as Vice President and also as head of the office of as head of the Department of Education, which he held concurrently as Vice President, there are sufficient allegations and even evidence. Nandyan yung mga official audit findings, nandyan yung mga liquidation, the liquidation reports which showed falsification of the names of payees, falsify the liquidation, and even the transcripts of the hearings. We also those hearings before the House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability. And the bribery of certain DepEd officials and employees holding procurement-related functions. There's enough testimony on record, legislative record, that she caused the respondents, VP Sara, caused the distribution of monetary gifts to these DepEd officials holding procurement-related functions.
Kong Leila,
yes.
I also wanted to ask, if you're already seeing any signs that House members might once again push for the express route. I think Congressman Terry Redon said that's still a possibility. But as far as you know, are there any moves to gather signatures at this point?
I have not heard about it. There's no such, I have no information about it, although media has been asking me also about that. At kung sakaling meron, Pauline, they have to do it fast. Before the 3 impeachment complaints so far filed against VP Sara are referred to the Justice Committee. As we speak, they have not yet been referred to the Justice Committee because they are to be taken up yet by the Committee on Rules. I think it's next week, Tuesday. Tuesday next week, which is the regular meeting of the Rules Committee. Now, they have 10 session days to do that. And the putting, having it included in the order of business, and also the referral after 3 session days. 10 days muna, and then 3 session days. And well within the period. But since we have had already 5 session days, so lima na lang, 5 session days remaining for the matter to be referred to the Justice Committee, they have to hurry if there's such a plan. But as I said, I have not heard, or I have not, I do not know of any such plan.
All right, so we will keep a close watch on that. But before we let you go, Congresswoman Leila, you recently said that this is looking ahead to 2028, that you believe former Vice President Leni Robredo is still the most winnable candidate. What makes you say that, Congresswoman? And is this a sentiment that, that the unified opposition also shares?
Well, I sincerely believe it, and many in the opposition, I think, share that sentiment. But of course, wala pa kung decision pa ngayon, there's no consensus yet on the part of the opposition camp as to who exactly would be our standard bearer to go against the Vice President, Sara. Now, and of course, we know that initial reports have it, and I can actually confirm it, that the former VP Mayor Leni Robredo, is still hesitant, and has actually said no about running for 2028. But as I said in the interview yesterday, I am not losing hope, because I believe this sentiment and this opinion about her being the most winnable among the possible contenders against VP Sara is shared by many. I've been talking to a lot of people, not only from within the opposition forces, even pro-administration personalities. I've heard them say that. Now, malakas daw ang tsansa ni VP Leni. She is the most winnable because of her track record and, of course, of her character. Yes.
And do you think, Congresswoman, that this clamor would be enough to make former VP Leni to reconsider her decision to run for 2028?
I suppose so, and of course, prayers. Yes, prayers.
All right. Well, we're going to leave that conversation there for now. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing all your insights. That was Mamamayang Liberal Party List Representative Leila de Lima.
Thank you, Pauline. Have a good day.